C. Cajole into.
The saleswoman cajoled Richard into signing the contract.
Cajole out of.
Jane cajoled her boyfriend out of drinking.
Cajole out of.
I managed to cajole Jane's phone number out of David.
Calculate on.
I have never calculated on her coming to my aid.
Call at.
I called at Jill's office when I was passing.
Call down.
My mother called me down for breaking the window.
Call for.
The president is calling for an investigation into the political scandal.
Call forth.
Adversity can call forth a person's best qualities.
Call in.
The mayor called in the police to put down the riots.
Call in on.
Please call in on me anytime you're in town.
Call off.
Your dog is barking at me. Please call it off.
Call off.
The game had to be called off because of bad weather.
Call on.
I called on my uncle yesterday.
Call on to.
The American president called on both sides to return to the negotiating table.
Call up.
Call Amy up and see if she wants to come for dinner.
Call up.
His words had called up a vivid image of the past.
Calm down.
Calm down and tell me what has happened.
Calm down.
I'll try to calm her down.
Campaign against.
They are campaigning against abortion.
Campaign for.
We are campaigning for mercy killing.
Cancel out.
Tim's carelessness canceled out his innovation.
Canvass for.
He is out canvassing for votes.
Capitalize on.
I capitalize on every chance to perfect my writing skills.
Capitulate to.
The French Prime Minister refused to capitulate to the protesters.
Care about.
The only thing I care about is my reputation.
Care for.
Angie cared for her father after his stroke.
Carp about. Carp at.
At home, she never stops carping at her husband. In the office, she is always carping about her work.
Carry along.
His pep talk carried every one of us along.
Carry away.
Sherry tends to get carried away and goes on a shopping spree.
Carry off.
I am wondering how Sam managed to carry off the task of repairing the car.
Carry on.
Carry on with your work or you will be punished.
Carry out.
I am carrying out a survey on attitudes to my new product.
Carry through.
Her sense of humor carried her through the financial crisis.
Carry through.
Once I start a project, I always carry it through.
Carry through on.
The president was praised for carrying through on promised political reforms.
Carve into.
I carved the wood into the shape of a lion.
Carve out.
She has carved out a niche for herself in the competitive world of advertising.
Cash in.
I have decided to cash in my insurance policy early, even though I might incur losses.
Cash in on.
Brooks always cashes in on my generosity.
Cast aside.
When he took over the position of chairman, he cast aside his mentor and his policy.
Cast off.
Jane cast off her former boyfriend and married a rich businessman.
Catch at.
A drowning man will catch at any straw.
Catch on.
Please speak slowly. I can hardly catch on to your joke.
Catch up on.
I need to catch up on some sleep.
Catch up with.
Taiwan has spent a lot of money trying to catch up with America in information technology.
Categorize as.
I hated to be categorized as a busybody.
Cater for.
Jack catered for the banquet.
Cater for, cater to.
Many television programs are meant to cater for the public taste for sentimental plays.
Caution against.
We put up a sign cautioning tourists against swimming in this lake.
Cave in.
The roof of the house caved in suddenly.
Cede to.
Taiwan was ceded to Japan in 1895.
Celebrate with.
We celebrated the new year with a party.
Censure for.
He was censured for a grave dereliction of duty.
Center on. Center upon.
The televised debate centered on funding for national defense.
Chafe at.
He chafed at the charge leveled at him.
Chalk up.
Mr. Erdogan, the Turkish leader, chalked up a tactical victory.
Chance on. Chance upon.
I chanced on an old friend of mine yesterday.
Change into.
A witch had changed a pumpkin into a carriage.
Characterize as.
He was characterized as a born actor.
Charge for.
How much do you charge for a room for a night?
Charge with.
That man was charged with stealing money.
Charm out of.
She charmed him out of money.
Chase after.
Chase after Sharon and ask her to get some sugar while she is at the grocery.
Chat about.
We chatted about what we had been doing since we last met.
Chatter to.
Tina has been chattering to her boyfriend on the phone for ages.
Chatter with.
My teeth were chattering with the cold.
Cheat at. Cheat on.
He was caught cheating at cards.
Cheat into.
The young lady cheated the old man into giving her all his savings.
Cheat on.
Mark cheated on his wife while he was working in China.
Cheat out of.
The salesman cheated me out of my money.
Check in.
We checked in at the reception desk.
Check in.
You can check your baggage in at the desk.
Check into.
We checked into the Grand Hotel.
Check off.
Check their names off the list as the students arrive.
Check on.
I'll check on whether it will rain on Sunday.
Check out.
I have to check out Robert's story with the other boys because he tends to tell lies.
Check out of.
We must check out of the hotel before 8 o'clock.
Check over.
Can you check over my paper for spelling mistakes?
Check up on.
Check up on the facts before you write your report.
Cheer on.
We went to the athletics meet to cheer our baseball team on.
Cheer up.
Cheer up. Things will take a turn for the better.
Cheer up.
I tried to cheer her up by taking her out to see a movie.
Chew on.
I saw a dog chewing on a bone.
Chip away at.
Politicians, right and left-wingers alike, are chipping away at the foundations of democracy.
Chip in with.
While we were talking, Julia chipped in with a joke.
Choke back.
She choked back her tears.
Choke off.
High prices might choke off demand.
Choke on.
That child choked on a fishbone.
Choke up.
The movie really choked me up.
Choose as.
I chose Paul as my successor.
Choose between and.
I have to choose between getting a job and going on studying.
Choose from.
They offer a wide variety of food for us to choose from.
Choose over.
I chose an apple over an orange.
Chop off.
Chad chopped a branch off the tree.
Chuckle about.
We are chuckling about her joke.
Churn out.
The factory churns out a great number of bicycles every day.
Clamor for.
Mike clamored for more candies.
Clamp down on.
The police are clamping down on organized crime.
Clap to.
They were clapping their hands to the music.
Clash with.
The police clashed with the angry farmers.
Classify as.
Seahorses are classified as fish.
Claw back.
I managed to claw back some of the money I had invested in the stock market.
Clean out.
We generally make it a rule to clean out the garage on Saturday.
Clean up.
Clean up your room. It's a mess.
Cleanse of.
He prayed and hoped to be cleansed of his sins.
Clear off.
The mist has cleared off and the sky is clear now.
Clear off.
The shop is planning to clear off the winter clothes.
Clear off.
Please help me clear the dishes off the table.
Clear out.
I need to clear out my drawers.
Clear up.
According to the weather forecast, the weather will clear up tomorrow.
Clear up.
The police still cannot clear up the mystery of the woman's death.
Cleave to.
He still cleaves to his radical ideas.
Climax in, climax with.
The festival will climax in a display of fireworks.
Climb down over.
The strike forced the employer to climb down over the pay issue.
Cling on to.
Though he was forced to step down, he was still trying hard to cling on to power.
Cling to.
I clung to the cliff so I wouldn't fall down.
Clock in, clock out.
I clocked in at 8 o'clock and clocked out at 5.
Close down.
With the demand for coffee subsiding, several producers are having to close down their factories.
Close in on.
Darkness was closing in on the town.
Clutch at.
A drowning person will clutch desperately at any straw that he or she might reach for.
Coalesce into.
Retired civil servants and teachers soon coalesced into one dominant interest group to protest against the pension reforms.
Cobble together.
They cobbled together a cabin from a few sheets of cardboard.
Coerce into.
The dictator used to coerce innocent people into signing away their land to his party.
Coincide with.
The school's 100th anniversary coincided with my birthday.
Collaborate with.
I collaborated on this new book with Christine.
Collide with.
The taxi collided with a car.
Collude with.
Several police officers have been accused of colluding with human traffickers.
Comb through.
The police are combing through the mountains looking for 2 missing students.
Combine against.
They combined against me.
Combine with.
I find it difficult to combine having a career with looking after children.
Come about.
Peace can only come about if the 2 sides are willing to meet each other halfway.
Come across.
Did your message come across?
Come across.
I came across this old photo in my drawer.
Come apart.
The glass came apart in my hands.
Come around.
Chris finally came around and decided to give me a hand.
Come by.
You can come by any time you are in town.
Come by.
Money is hard to come by right now.
Come down.
The run-down building has come down.
Come down on.
The police come down hard on anyone who is caught going through red lights.
Come down to.
It comes down to this. How much will you charge for the house?
Come down with.
I'm afraid I'm coming down with the flu.
Come forward.
Several witnesses came forward with information about the robbery.
Come off.
The attempt to rescue the hostages came off.
Come on.
The lights suddenly came on in the theater.
Come out.
A new edition of the dictionary will come out next month.
Come out with.
James came out with a really stupid remark about abortion.
Come over.
My boss comes over as a forgiving man.
Come through.
They came through unharmed.
Come through.
The pagoda came through the earthquake without much damage.
Come to.
The boy fainted in the glaring sun, but he came to when we splashed drops of water on his face.
Come to.
The bill comes to $30, ma'am.
Come up.
A problem may come up unexpectedly in a conversation.
Come up to.
Your work came up to my expectations.
Come up with.
I couldn't come up with a good excuse for standing her up.
Commence with.
A meeting often commences with a reading of the minutes of the last meeting.
Commend for.
That firefighter risked his life to save the boy from the fire and was highly commended for his bravery.
Comment on. Comment upon.
I am afraid I cannot comment on the accident.
Commentate on.
He commentates on baseball games on TV.
Commingle with.
Fact is inextricably commingled with fiction in her novel.
Commiserate with.
I commiserate with the earthquake victims.
Commit oneself to.
Mr. Williams committed himself to music.
Communicate with on.
Bob is a shy boy who cannot communicate with other people on school lessons very well.
Commute from to.
I commute from the suburbs to the city every day.
Commute to.
The serial killer's death sentence was commuted to life imprisonment.
Compare with.
Compare this picture with that one and tell me what you think of them.
Compare to.
Life is often compared to a journey.
Compensate for.
My enthusiasm more than compensates for my lack of experience.
Compensate for.
The oil company apologized for the oil spill and agreed to compensate the fishermen for their loss of earnings.
Compete with for.
Cindy always competes with her sister for their mother's attention.
Compile from.
We compiled this dictionary from various sources.
Complain to about.
That woman is always complaining to me about her job.
Compliment on.
John complimented Helen on her new dress.
Comply with.
We must comply with the law.
Compress into.
What would normally have been a one-year training course has to be compressed into 2 weeks.
Compromise with on.
He won't compromise with me on the price.
Conceal from.
I conceal nothing from my wife.
Concede to.
The government of the Qing dynasty conceded this island to Japan in 1895.
Conceive of.
I would never conceive of using tin cans and milk cartons to build a castle.
Concentrate on.
I cannot concentrate on my work when it is hot.
Concentrate on.
You should concentrate your attention on your work.
Conclude from.
I conclude from your comment that you are strongly against smoking.
Conclude with.
The priest concluded his sermon with a prayer.
Concur with.
The central bank concurred with a hike in interest rates.
Condemn as.
The threat to take this island by force is condemned as naked aggression.
Condemn for.
The movie was condemned for its violence.
Condemn to.
The murderer was condemned to death.
Condense into.
You should condense your paper into a short passage.
Condole with over.
I visited my friend to condole with him over the death of his father.
Confer on.
An honorary degree was conferred on Mr. Lin by the university in recognition of his contribution to his country.
Confer with about.
The president will confer with his advisors before he makes any decision.
Confess to.
That man confessed to setting the house on fire.
Confide in.
I've never felt able to confide in her. She has a big mouth.
Confide to.
He confided to me that he didn't have much hope for his bid for re-election.
Confine oneself to.
Try to confine yourself to spending $100 a day.
Conflict with.
What she says often conflicts with what she does.
Conform to.
We must conform to the rules.
Confront with.
The robber was confronted with the evidence of his guilt.
Confuse with.
I am always confusing oranges with tangerines.
Congratulate on.
I congratulated Alan on having come first in the exam.
Conjure up.
The landscape often conjures up memories of holidays in Japan.
Connect with.
The police tried to connect that man with the murder, but in vain.
Connive at.
He connives at his son's misbehavior.
Connive with.
The bank manager connived with the gang to pilfer from the safe.
Consent to.
Serena's parents wouldn't consent to the marriage, but she decided to marry Mark regardless.
Consign to.
The girl was consigned to the care of her aunt.
Consist in.
Success consists in hard work and perseverance.
Consist of.
The sauce consists of cream, onions, and herbs.
Console for, console on.
I tried to console Candy for the loss of her beloved father.
Console oneself with.
Jane consoled herself with the fact that no one else had passed the exam either.
Consort with.
Mark regularly consorts with gangsters.
Conspire against.
The old guard conspired against the newly elected president.
Constrain from.
His sprained ankle constrained him from taking part in the race.
Construe as.
Your silence can be construed as consent.
Consult with about.
Before I can accept your offer, I must consult with my parents.
Consume with.
He was consumed with guilt.
Contend with for.
Linda is contending with Sherry for the championship.
Content oneself with.
I have never contented myself with coming second.
Continue with.
I will continue with my studies.
Contract out.
The central government has decided to contract out the work on the high-speed railway.
Contrast with.
This year's high profits contrast with last year's big losses.
Contribute to.
Carelessness might have contributed to the accident.
Contribute to.
He contributed $5,000 to the orphanage.
Convalesce from.
He has convalesced from his bad cold.
Converse with.
It is difficult to converse with a person who has no sense of humor.
Convert into.
I am going to convert water into ice.
Convey from to.
Your baggage will be conveyed from the station to your hotel.
Convey to.
We conveyed our anger to the shopkeeper for the salesman's bad manners.
Convict of.
The taxi driver was convicted of rape and attempted murder.
Convince of.
I finally convinced the police of my innocence.
Convulse with.
His body convulsed with pain.
Cook up.
Sherry will cook up any excuse not to do homework.
Cool down. Cool off.
The long walk home helped me cool down.
Cooperate with.
Jack cooperated with Tom to build the model plane.
Cop out.
David had agreed to help me with my lessons, but he copped out at the last minute.
Cope with.
Angela can cope very well with all this work.
Cordon off.
The police have cordoned off the street where the gunfight had broken out.
Cork up.
Since everybody had drunk enough, I corked up the bottle.
Correlate with.
Consumer confidence correlates with economic growth.
Correspond to.
The premier in Taiwan corresponds to the prime minister in Britain.
Correspond with.
The name on the paper doesn't correspond with the name on your ID card.
Cough out.
The boy coughed the fishbone out.
Cough up.
My father won't cough up any money for a television set.
Counsel against.
My mother counseled me against taking up with that guy.
Counsel on.
This unit was set up to counsel people on marriage.
Count down.
Okay, get ready to count down to midnight.
Count in.
If you're going swimming, count me in.
Count on.
You can always count on me to help.
Count out.
If you are going for a ride in the freezing weather, count me out.
Count up.
Count up all your money and see if you have enough for a computer.
Counter with.
He was accused of lining his pocket, but he countered this charge with the claim that he had a clean record.
Cover for.
Go ahead and take a walk. I'll cover for you until you return.
Cover up.
The legislator was reported to have taken bribes and tried to cover up the scandal.
Cozy up to.
That salesman was trying to cozy up to me.
Crack down on.
Police are cracking down on drug trafficking and organized crime.
Cram into.
All the things were all crammed into a small car.
Crash into.
The truck crashed straight into the car ahead of it.
Crave for.
The populace crave for peace and calm.
Cringe at.
The dog cringed at the sight of my stick.
Cringe to. Cringe before.
He cringed to his superiors, but bossed his subordinates around.
Criticize for.
The firemen were criticized for failing to put the fire out.
Crop up.
Several problems cropped up soon after the two companies merged together.
Cross off.
My teacher crossed off several incorrect words in my composition.
Cross out of.
I crossed the last line out of my paper.
Crow about. Crow over.
The baseball team is crowing over its triumph.
Crowd out.
Big supermarkets have been crowding out mom-and-pop stores.
Crumble into.
The condemned building crumbled into rubble in the earthquake.
Crunch on.
The dog is crunching on a bone.
Cry for.
That girl is crying for help.
Cry over. Cry about.
The girl cried over her unhappiness.
Culminate in.
His many years of hard work culminated in an award for excellence.
Curl into.
The cat curled into a ball.
Cut across.
The voting cut across the usual ethnic and political divisions.
Cut back on.
With the economic downturn, people are attempting to cut back on living expenses.
Cut down on.
Rick is trying to cut down on his smoking and drinking.
Cut in on.
It is impolite to cut in on other people's conversations.
Cut into.
When I was talking on the phone, my child cut into the conversation with demands for candy.
Be cut out for.
I don't think you are cut out for country life.
Cut into.
I use a knife to cut the cheese into cubes.